For many fans, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan was the film that restored the franchise's heartbeat.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
Remember that in all of these videos, there's going to be a link in the description that you can go to where you will actually be taken to an affiliate link on Amazon showing you the availability of the books that I've been discussing.
After the slow, cerebral spectacle of the motion picture, 1980's two follow-up felt like a jolt of adrenaline. Swift, emotional, ruthless. It brought back a classic villain, redefined the purpose of Starfleet, and most unforgettably, it dared to kill Spock. But while fans lined up to see the space battles, and to quote Ricardo Montalban's every syllable, something quieter was happening in the margins. A writer by the name of Alan Asherman, already known for his earlier work in the Star Trek Compendium, was given unprecedented access to the production, and from that access came a slim but richly detailed volume entitled The Making of Star Trek II. Not a glossy retrospective, not a puff piece, but a boots-on-the-ground, production-level journal of how one of the most celebrated Star Trek films was assembled, scene by scene, day by day, with all of the drama, the tension, the improvisation, and the risk still left in the pages for us to read. Now, as mentioned before, Alan Ashman was no stranger to Star Trek reference publishing. His Star Trek Compendium, published just a year earlier, had quickly become a go-to for fans who wanted clean episode-by-episode breakdowns of the original series and films. But the opportunity to write a making-of book came directly from the production team behind The Wrath of Khan. And unlike some of the official tie-ins, this wasn't just a sanitized press kit bound between two covers. Asherman was given real access, interviews with cast and crew, behind-the-scenes photography, and most importantly, a front-row seat to the rewrite-heavy, budget-conscious, studio-nervous creation of a film that nearly didn't get made. He stepped into a production trying to course-correct a franchise, and what he wrote reflected that urgency. Published by Pocket Books in that absolutely incredibly laced science fiction year of 1982, just weeks after the film's release, The Making of Star Trek II was a 128-page trade paperback packed with in-depth behind-the-scene interviews with Nicholas Meyer, Harve Bennett, Gene Roddenberry, William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, and all the others that you would expect, a full production timeline of the film's development, on-set observations and cast dynamics, which I thought was pretty slick, details on budget constraints and creative workarounds, the evolution of key scenes, including Spock's death. So much changed in this movie, you would not believe it. Conceptual art, storyboards, and black and white photos. Yes, black and white photos. Probably the biggest disappointment that I had when I bought this book was it was the same size and the same basic coloring and design as the Star Trek The Motion Picture photo story, which was all in full glorious color. Surely they would do the same thing again for this. They did not. It was never made available in color. What made Asherman's approach different, however, was his tone. He didn't glorify anything, he documented it. Like Walter Cronkite before him, he treated the production team like collaborators in a shared experiment, and that gave us a more honest and more compelling look at how Star Trek was being reshaped right in front of our very eyes. Now, as almost all of us know in Gen 1, Star Trek II didn't just appear out of stardust. Following the release of the motion picture in 1979, Paramount had doubts. Though the film grossed over $139 million worldwide, its slow pace, ballooning budget, and tepid critical response left the studio hesitant to fund a sequel in the same mold. So in steps Harve Bennett, a television producer known for his tight scripts and frugal production skills. Paramount gave him a mandate. Make a better Star Trek movie. for much less than half the cost of the first.
If you have any videos, photos, or documents that you would like to donate to us, please feel free to send them to jim@trek-world.com or submit them via the web at submit.trek-world.com.
Bennett, unfamiliar with the franchise, watched all 79 episodes of the original series and zeroed in on one, Space Seed. He brought in Nicholas Meyer, a novelist and director who had never seen an episode of Star Trek before. Are you beginning to see the pattern here? They didn't know what Star Trek wasn't supposed to be. The result? A film that was more Horatio Hornblower than Roddenberry actually delivered. A tale of aging, vengeance, and sacrifice. And Asherman documented the transformation in real time. Now, one of the most revealing sections of the making of Star Trek II focuses on Spock's death, a moment that shook fans and reshaped the franchise. In early drafts, Spock's sacrifice came mid-film, but after leaks sparked fan outrage, courtesy of Mr. Gene Roddenberry, who didn't think that anybody would know he was the one doing the leaking, wrong. The team moved to the climax. Asherman's interviews with Leonard Nimoy reveal a nuanced portrait. An actor who initially agreed to return only if Spock died, but found himself reinvested in the story and absolutely surprised by the emotional weight of the actual ending. Meyer, to his part, was clear. If Spock died, his death had to matter. It had to serve the theme. How we face death is at least as important as how we face life, as Kirk would say. Asherman captures not only the logic of the decision, but the unease that surrounded it. It wasn't unanimous. It wasn't smooth. But it did work. Beyond script choices, Asherman's book dives deeper into how the film was made. Readers get fly-on-the-wall access to the construction of the Genesis cave, the reuse of the motion picture sets, the tension between Roddenberry, who had been relegated creative consultant, and the new team, and the innovation required to produce visual effects under the direction of ILM on a tight schedule. He knows how James Horner, who at the time was a mind-blowingly 28 years old, composed a sweeping emotional score that gave the film its operatic pulse. How uniforms were redesigned to reflect naval formality. How minor details, like Khan's costuming, made from leftover wardrobe materials, added unprecedented texture. He doesn't shy away from documenting disagreements between cast and producers, writers and directors, studios and creatives. We know there were disagreements. This is Star Trek. There were not only disagreements, there were a lot of them. And in doing so, he gives readers something rare. A true account of what a collaboration looks like when it's under pressure. Though modest in page count at 128 pages, the making of Star Trek II punches far above its weight limit in cultural importance. Why? Because Star Trek II wasn't just a better film. It was a redirection of the franchise's tone and trajectory. It embraced longing, loss, mentorship, sacrifice. Like I said earlier, aging. It blended character drama with thrilling action, and it gave Star Trek something it desperately needed at the time: stakes. Asherman's book caught this turning point as it happened. No revisionist history, no softened language. It documented Trek becoming cinema with all the risk and the reward that it entailed. For many fans, especially those who found the motion picture to be too distant, The Wrath of Khan was the film that said, Star Trek can feel again. And Asherman's book, well, that gave that feeling context. Today, many making of books are coffee table retrospectives, glossy, curated, often published decades after the fact. The making of Star Trek II is different. Like I said earlier, it's a real honest-to-goodness time capsule, written and published within weeks of the film's release. It captured the immediacy of the moment, The uncertainty, the hope, the arguments, and the midnight rewrites. It showed creative decisions before they became cultural milestones. Remember, folks, the movie could have bombed. It also is a teaching tool. Writers, directors, students of storytelling have used Asherman's book as a case study on how to build a sequel that's better than its predecessor, smaller in budget, sharper in tone, but deeper in character. The making of Star Trek II remains one of the most beloved and useful behind-the-scenes Trek books ever written. It's not flashy, it doesn't take sides, it doesn't try to define Star Trek's philosophy. It just shows you what happened and how people, smart, flawed, passionate people, made something unforgettable during the pressure of high expectations and limited time. Alan Asherman didn't try to mythologize the Wrath of Khan. He just revealed its spine. And in doing so, he gave you and me a gift, an honest record of the moment that Star Trek became legend again. And I just wanted to thank you so much for visiting my channel to watch one of my videos. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you do enjoy this video, I would personally be very grateful if you might please consider subscribing to the channel. Why, you might ask? Well, viewer subscriptions help to ensure that I am able to continue providing more Trek World content like the video you just watched.